So, you did it, you bought a house, congratulations, you've achieved the American dream, that picturesque little slice of heaven. A white picket fence, a tire swing, and a soul-crushing mountain of debt. What they don't tell you, the price you agreed to pay is just the opening bid, in a lifelong auction for your financial sanity. The sticker price is a lie, whispered to you in a 30-year mortgage. The real cost is a relentless barrage of fees and surprises. Think of the purchase price as the cover charge. Ah, the Homeowners Association, the HOA. The very name sounds so reassuring, doesn't it? It conjures images of friendly neighbors, community potlucks, and a shared commitment to keeping things nice. It's the promise of the suburban dream, neatly packaged and delivered. A guarantee that your little slice of heaven and its property value will be protected from chaos. On paper, it's a simple, democratic body of fellow homeowners working together for the common good. It sounds like a book club, but for lawn care and property values, a collective, a community, a team. But the reality can be different. What seems like a friendly club is often a tiny, hyper-local regime, operating with the bureaucratic zeal of a full-blown government, but without any of the pesky oversight. This regime is governed by a sacred text, the Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, or CC and Rs. It's a document thicker than a phone book, written in dense legalese, that you were handed in a mountain of paperwork when you bought your home. You didn't read it, nobody ever does. But you signed on the dotted line, and in doing so, you pledged allegiance. And who enforces this sacred text? The board. Often run by Brenda, a neighbor with an unnerving amount of free time and very, very strong opinions about the specific shade of beige your shutters are painted. Brenda isn't just concerned with beige, but also taupe, greige, and eggshell white. She is the chairperson of the Architectural Review Committee, a tribunal that holds the aesthetic fate of your home in its hands. They are the arbiters of taste, the guardians of uniformity. And while you might think you're a homeowner, in their eyes you're more of a tenant on the land you supposedly own. The board, a council of your peers, is elected, but in many communities elections are uncontested formalities, ensuring the same power-hungry or simply bored individuals remain in charge year after year. And here's the kicker. Membership is mandatory. This isn't a subscription you can cancel. When you buy a property in an HOA community, you are automatically and legally bound by its rules. It's a covenant that runs with the land, an unbreakable vow tied to the deed itself. You don't get to opt out. It's like buying a new smartphone and discovering it comes with a pre-installed, undeletable app that monitors your every move, criticizes your choice of wallpaper, and charges you a monthly fee for the privilege. You're joining a club where the only mandatory activity is writing checks. Every month or every year you'll pay fees that can range from a couple hundred to thousands of dollars. And where does that money go? A significant portion is often siphoned off to a third-party property management company, a faceless corporation whose entire business model is to enforce the rules and collect your money. Then there are the lawyers kept on retainer to handle disputes that are often with you, the homeowner. The rest goes to so-called amenities. You're paying for the maintenance of the sparkling pool you never use because its hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekdays. You fund the sad, lonely swing set that's perpetually empty thanks to a list of rules that makes it sound less like a playground and more like a minimum security facility. And of course you pay for the immaculate entrances, a Potemkin village facade designed to impress potential buyers and keep the cycle going. It's all part of the service. Relentless, unwavering rule enforcement. The rules can descend into parody. They dictate your door color from an approved palette of 3 nearly identical shades of brown. They dictate your flowers, outlawing cheerful weeds like dandelions in favor of approved, soulless perennials. They can ban basketball hoops, deeming them unsightly. They can prohibit you from parking a work truck in your own driveway. They can regulate the exact dates your holiday decorations can be displayed, lest your inflatable snowman offend in mid-January. Your trash cans must be invisible, hidden from all public view, except for a 4-hour window on collection day. And the grass must be maintained with nuclear precision, typically between 2 and 3 inches. Any higher, and you're a rebel. Any lower, and you're damaging the turf. And if you dare to ignore these edicts, the process is swift and unforgiving. First comes the notice, a passive-aggressive letter left on your door. Ignore that, and you face fines, which can accumulate daily. That visible trash can could cost you $25 a day. Let your grass grow a half-inch too tall for a week, and you could owe hundreds. Fail to pay the fines and dues, and the HOA can place a lien on your home. This is a legal claim against your property, a black mark that prevents you from selling or refinancing. And in many states, it's the final step before the unthinkable. The HOA can foreclose on your home and force its sale to collect what they're owed, even if your mortgage is paid in full. Then, just when you think you've budgeted for the monthly costs, come the special assessments. This happens when the board has mismanaged the reserve funds or a large unplanned expense arises. Suddenly, the community center needs a new roof for $50,000. The private roads need to be repaved. The tennis courts need resurfacing. Your share of that cost arrives as a one-time bill for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars due in 30 days. It's a financial gut punch you never saw coming and have no choice but to pay. In the end, the fundamental conflict of the HOA is this: you bought a castle, but you're forced to live as a subject. It's your money, your property, your home, but it's their kingdom. Property taxes, as certain as death, but they happen every single year. It's a bill that arrives like clockwork, a permanent financial anchor tethered to the very idea of home. In fact, it's one of the oldest forms of taxation, a concept stretching back to ancient civilizations, now perfected into a modern bureaucratic engine. It's the great paradox of homeownership. You spend decades paying off a mortgage to finally own your castle, only to discover you're a permanent tenant, paying perpetual rent to the government just for the right to stay there. This isn't a one-time fee. It's a subscription to your own property, and the price is always subject to change without your consent. So who gets this money? It's a complex web of jurisdictions, each with its handout. First, there's the city or town, funding the things you see every day. The garbage trucks that rumble down your street, the streetlights that flicker on at dusk, the local police patrols. Then the county steps in, taking its share for broader services, the court system, the public health department, the sheriff's office. But the lion's share, often the biggest single slice of your tax pie, goes to the local school district. Whether you have kids or not, you're funding the schools, from teacher salaries to new football stadiums. And it doesn't stop there. You might also be paying for a library district, a water reclamation district, even a mosquito abatement district. Each one is a separate line item, a small but persistent drain, all adding up to one enormous bill. The process itself sounds simple. They assess your property's value, then take a percentage. But the devil is in the details. The value they use isn't what you paid for the house or even what it might sell for tomorrow. It's the assessed value, a number determined by a county official, the tax assessor. This figure is then multiplied by something called the millage rate. A mill is 1/1000th of a dollar. So a rate of say 20 mills means you pay $20 for every $1,000 of assessed value. Each of those entities, the city, the county, the school, sets its own millage rate. The assessor's office simply stacks them all on top of each other to calculate your final, breathtaking total. It's a system of layered percentages designed for maximum extraction. And where does it all go? To be fair, it funds the very fabric of a functioning community. It pays for the schools that educate the next generation. It paves the roads we drive on and plows them in the winter. It funds the fire departments and paramedics who show up on the worst day of your life. It maintains the parks where families gather and the libraries that offer a quiet refuge. It's the price of civilization, we're told, a noble shared investment in the common good. And it all sounds perfectly reasonable, a portrait of civic harmony. Until you open that envelope and discover your bill has jumped 10, 15, or even 20% in a single year. Suddenly that noble investment feels a lot more like a hostile takeover of your personal budget. That increase isn't just a number, it's the family vacation you can no longer take, the car repair you have to put on a credit card, the retirement savings you can't contribute. Perhaps the most maddening part is how wildly and unpredictably these taxes can fluctuate. Your income might be flat, your lifestyle unchanged, but your tax bill can feel like it's strapped to a rocket. The primary culprit, a booming neighborhood. A trendy new coffee shop opens on the corner. A high-end grocery store replaces an old laundromat. Suddenly, your quiet street is up and coming. Real estate agents start calling, your property's market value soars, and the tax assessor is right behind, eager to update your assessed value to match. Your bill skyrockets. But here's the kicker. You haven't seen a single dime of that new value. You didn't sell your house, you didn't take out a new loan, you didn't earn more money at your job, you were just living there. You are being taxed on a purely theoretical profit, an unrealized gain. The government is essentially charging you for the money you make if you sold your home, forcing you to pay real cash on hypothetical wealth. This system is brutal for anyone on a fixed income, but it is an absolute nightmare for retirees. Imagine working your entire life, diligently paying your mortgage for 30 years with the dream of owning your home outright, free and clear. You build a retirement plan based on one crucial fact: no more house payments. But then, the property tax bill starts to climb. First it's a nuisance, then it's a concern. Soon, it's the size of a car payment, and it keeps growing year after year, becoming a second mortgage you can never pay off. You bought a modest home in a quiet neighborhood 40 years ago. Now, through no action of your own, the area has become fashionable, and your home is assessed at $1 million. Your tax bill can easily exceed what your original monthly mortgage payment was. This is how people get taxed out of their homes. The very homes they built their lives in, raised their children in, and plan to live out their final years. It's a quiet, bureaucratic eviction notice. And how is your home's new inflated value decided? Often through opaque formulas and drive-by judgments. An assessor might use a computer algorithm plugging in comparable sales from your area without ever knowing that your roof leaks or your foundation is cracked. So what can you do? You can appeal, but this is an uphill battle. You have to prove the assessor is wrong by becoming an amateur real estate analyst overnight, gathering your own comps, taking photos of every flaw in your property, and filling out stacks of complicated forms. If you make it to a hearing, you'll find yourself pleading your case before an appeals board. But here's the fundamental conflict of interest. You are arguing with the very system that your taxes fund. They have a vested interest in keeping assessments high to maximize revenue. It's not a neutral court, it's a performance review conducted by the House, and the House always wants to win. Faced with this daunting, seemingly rigged process, the vast majority of homeowners do nothing. They might complain, they might curse the system, but in the end, they just sigh and write the ever bigger checks. It's a payment that never ends, a financial obligation that will follow you for as long as you own your property and will be passed on to whoever inherits it. It forces a fundamental question. If you have to make a significant perpetual payment to the government just to be allowed to keep your property, do you ever truly own it? Or are you simply a long-term renter with more responsibilities? Property tax is the gift that keeps on taking, a silent partner in your biggest investment, ensuring that even when you've paid for your home, you're never truly done paying for it. Home insurance. For most of us, it's not a choice, it's a cornerstone of homeownership, the non-negotiable ticket required to enter the world of mortgages and property deeds. It's sold to us as a promise, a shield, the ultimate safety net you're required to buy. This document, we're told, represents peace of mind. It's the guarantee that if the unthinkable happens, the place where you've built your life, your largest and most personal investment, will be made whole again. It's a comforting thought, a bedrock of security in an uncertain world. And if you have a mortgage, your lender insists. But let's be clear, their insistence isn't about protecting you or your family. It's about protecting their investment. Your house is the collateral for their loan. If it burns down or blows away and you can't afford to rebuild, you might just walk away from the mortgage. Without insurance, the bank is left with a worthless piece of land and a massive financial loss. This is why if you let your policy lapse, they will purchase insurance on your behalf. It's called force-placed insurance, and it's a nightmare. It can be 5 to 10 times more expensive than a standard policy and offers the bare minimum of coverage, designed only to protect the bank's structure, not your belongings or your liability. It's the first clue that in the world of insurance, your interests are not the top priority. The marketing brochures paint a dramatic picture of protection. A devastating fire, a catastrophic hurricane, a massive tree splitting your home in two, they promise they'll have your back. They sell you on the idea of a rapid, compassionate response, a check that will allow you to rebuild your life from the ashes. But when the smoke clears and the storm passes, will they really be there? Or will you discover that the promise you've been paying for is written in disappearing ink? Here's the shocking truth, the one buried deep within the dozens of pages of dense legalistic text. Your policy is not a solid wall of protection. It's more like a fishing net, meticulously designed with holes, exclusions, and loopholes. These aren't accidental omissions. They are deliberate, calculated carve-outs for risks the insurance company has deemed too high, too frequent, or too expensive to cover. And it's in these gaps that countless homeowners find their financial ruin. Your premium is a direct reflection of how risky the insurer thinks you are, and they look at everything. Living in a designated flood zone, a wildfire-prone area, or a tornado alley will send your rates soaring. But it gets much more personal. That aging roof you've been meaning to replace? To an underwriter, that's not a future project. It's a high-probability claim for a leak or wind damage. Even your family dog could cost you. Certain breeds like pit bulls, Rottweilers, or Dobermans are blacklisted by many carriers due to statistical data on bite claims, which can lead to massive liability lawsuits. Have a swimming pool without a fence or a trampoline in the backyard? Each one is a liability risk, another reason to charge you more, or deny you coverage altogether. And sometimes your rate has nothing to do with you at all. After a major hurricane or a season of devastating wildfires, everyone's rates in that state or region are likely to climb, whether your home was touched or not. This is because insurance companies themselves buy insurance from massive global corporations called reinsurers. When a catastrophe forces reinsurers to pay out billions, they raise their prices for the primary insurance companies. Those companies don't absorb the cost, they pass it directly to you, their policyholder. You pay the price for the storm, even if it never rained on your street. But the premium is just the beginning of what you'll pay. Let's talk about the deductible. Before the insurance company pays a single cent, you have to pay the first chunk of the repair costs yourself. Many people are familiar with a standard flat deductible, say $2,000. But for specific high-risk events like hurricanes or windstorms, many policies now have percentage deductibles. This is a critical, often misunderstood detail. A 2% hurricane deductible isn't 2% of the damage, it's 2% of your home's total insured value. So on your $400,000 home, that 2% deductible means you are on the hook for the first $8,000 of damage. If a hurricane causes $15,000 in damage to your roof and siding, you might expect a check to cover most of it. Instead, after you've paid your $8,000 deductible, you'll get a check for just $7,000, leaving you to scramble for the rest. It's a devastating financial blow, right when you're at your most vulnerable. And then, there are the things that simply aren't covered at all. The number one exclusion on a standard homeowner's policy: flood damage. That's a completely separate policy, usually from the government's National Flood Insurance Program. An earthquake that cracks your foundation? That's a separate policy too, often with an even higher deductible of 10 to 20%. Sinkholes, sewer backups, mudslides, all are typically excluded. The fine print always wins. The loopholes are maddeningly specific. Water damage is a perfect example. If a pipe suddenly and accidentally bursts, flooding your kitchen, it's covered. But if a slow pinhole leak drips behind a wall for months, causing rot and toxic mold, the claim will be denied. That's considered a maintenance issue, and the resulting mold damage is also typically excluded. The same logic applies to storms. Wind that rips a hole in your roof, allowing rain to pour in? Covered. But wind-driven rain that seeps in through the edges of your windows or under your door? That's often considered a form of flooding and is denied. This leads to infamous legal battles. After a hurricane, a home might be obliterated by a combination of 150-mile-per-hour winds, a covered peril, and a 15-foot storm surge, an excluded peril. The insurance company's engineer will argue the water did the damage, while the homeowner's expert argues it was the wind. Families fight for years over these storm surge versus wind clauses, often left with nothing but a concrete slab while the lawyers get rich. The moment you file a claim, the entire dynamic shifts. You are no longer a valued customer, you are a line item on a spreadsheet, a potential loss to be minimized. You pay for protection, and in your moment of need, you find yourself facing a multi-billion-dollar adversary with an army of adjusters, engineers, and attorneys. Their job is not to help you, it's to interpret every ambiguity in that 80-page policy in their company's favor. They delay, deny, and defend, knowing that every day they hold on to the money is a day it earns interest for them, and a day you grow more desperate. So you sign the papers, you pay the premium year after year, and you hope you never have to use it. Because when disaster finally strikes, you quickly learn you're not just fighting the storm, you're fighting the very company you paid to protect you from it. It's a gamble disguised as a guarantee, and in this casino, the house almost always wins. Here's an inescapable truth. Everything falls apart, and nowhere more expensively than at home. Water heater dies, AC quits, a brown stain warns of a costly leak. Set aside 1 to 4% of your home's value every year. On $400K, that's $4K to $16K, up to $1,300 a month. On top of mortgage, taxes, and insurance. Not granite countertops, fundamental systems. You can't skip heat in winter or ignore leaks without breeding mold. A friend's sewer line? Over 20 grand for a buried pipe. Roof, 20 years, HVAC 15, appliances 10, fuses ticking with price tags. You're a curator of depreciating assets. And you need a bank account ready for a sudden 5-figure gut punch. Private mortgage insurance. You pay it to protect the lender, like buying your boss a birthday present. Can't put 20% down? On $400K, that's $80K most don't have. Lender sees risk, so you pay PMI, often 0.5%, 2% yearly. On $350K, around $300 a month. A penalty for not being wealthy, a racket. The good news, at 20% equity you can request removal. 22% is automatic. Track equity. Know your rights. Ask your lender to stop charging, because they'll happily keep taking your money until you make them stop. House hunting done, offer accepted, you're at the finish line. But before the keys, closing costs, the final boss. Typically 2 to 5% on $400K, that's $8K to $20K in cash. On top of your down payment, loan origination, appraisal, credit report, underwriting, document prep, title search and 2 title policies, a critical 1,000+ line item, plus prepaids into escrow so the lender pays taxes and insurance. You'll flip pages of numbers, understand and sign, then hand over the largest check you'll likely ever write. Welcome home. You've signed, keys in hand, the house is yours. You flip a switch, nothing. Turn the faucet, nothing. Utilities aren't automatic, you arrange them. Setup fees, connection charges, security deposits for power, water, gas, internet. 25 here, 50 there, across 5 utilities it adds up fast. If your credit's thin, deposits can be hundreds when you're most vulnerable. Then the cable internet masters of hidden fees, install, rental, broadcast, sports. $79.99 becomes $140. So there you have it. The dream stripped bare, machine exposed, HOA tyrants, rising taxes, policies that don't insure, the drip of maintenance. Don't go in blindly, don't trust the sticker price. Real estate, lenders, insurers, businesses first, profits first. Fight back with knowledge, ask about HOAs, read bylaws, check special assessments, research tax history, shop insurance, read exclusions, choose deductibles wisely, hire your own inspector, know system ages, build a maintenance fund, track equity, remove PMI ASAP, share this information. Don't let them shock you, shock them with how prepared you are.